Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rachel Wild. I am a life coach, tarot reader, clairvoyant, and intuitive psychic. And today I want to talk to you about how to overcome the fear of death. It's something that I've been through myself. I remember struggling with it very intensely. To where I just felt, really scared all the time for a little bit of my life there. And I want to tell you about what I went through, how I overcame it, and I'm going to share with you some images today that I drew after having a really significant spiritual experience in my life, with the intent to help you see death in a different perspective and realize that we are all connected. And it is my intention that through this video today you will start to either be led on the path to transforming that fear, or maybe this video will be the icing on the cake for you and just totally shift how you see it, what you believe about it, so that you don't have to struggle with that fear anymore, because I know that it's super intense. And as humans, we all go through that at some point or another on our journey, having to face that aspect of reality. So I really wanted to bring a message to help people in the world today with how I've overcome. So let me just start off by talking a little bit about my story, really. So it all started when I gave birth to my son. He's 2 years old now. And I actually went through childbirth naturally with my son. It was a 6-hour labor, so I was really fortunate that it was pretty short as far as labors go. And I'm really grateful because I was going through that naturally. It was super intense, right, and painful, So during that, in hindsight, I can kind of see how it was kind of like one big super meditation. I had to constantly be present in my body for every moment of it, right? Like my mind couldn't go elsewhere because my body was screaming with such intense sensations. They couldn't be ignored, I couldn't be thinking about anything else. It just wasn't happening. So I was super in my body for 6 hours straight. Not only that, but as many of you mothers know who have experienced birth, there's the deep breathing that we get into, and that's really the lifeline through that whole process when we're facing this significant amount of pain and body sensation. For me, I know that I had to deeply, deeply connect with another part of myself. And I had to cling to my breath so much so that those body sensations that were screaming at me actually became background noise. And I mean, those sensations were so intense. You can imagine how much I had to go into my breath to make the screaming sensations background noise, right? But that was really the only way to get through those contractions, as many of you know and have experienced. So after my son was born, it was such an incredible experience. I felt so present in my daily life after that. Every moment was so rich, and I felt this immense love for my son and for myself and for every single person on the planet and for the planet and for the universe. There was just so much love, and I was walking around in this state of euphoria, like for weeks, and really for the first couple or few months there. It was just like so incredibly rich. And, a part of me then started noticing the fact that, I never want this to end. It's so beautiful. There's so much love here, And I started, just going into all these realizations of mortality. And I had thought about death before in my life, sure, and I grappled with it a bit earlier in life at different phases and things like that. But this time, it felt like somebody had maxed out the dial on fear of death in my life after I had experienced all of that euphoria and that immense love. I began to feel really fearful, like I don't want to die, I don't want my son to die, I don't want my loved ones to die. It was this sad time after that because I couldn't shake it, it began to be on the forefront of my mind all the time, and it became so intense emotionally that, I just found myself asking for answers, like, it was kind of one of those on your knees moments where I was just like, I need help relieving this, and I don't prescribe to any specific religion, but I do have a spiritual sense of an basically all-pervasive presence which permeates all of existence, right? I mean, when you begin to practice meditation and you begin to quiet your mind and you become present and you begin living your life that way, there's this feeling of accessing that observer in you more, and you realize that there is a presence that is with you all the time, and it is beyond your body, your mind, your thoughts, your emotions. It's outside of all of that. So, I was just finding myself asking the universe, basically just putting it out there, help me with this. I need to feel some relief from this heavy existential burden, right? And so a short while later, I found myself drawn to this local bookstore in my area, and I went and I checked it out with my sister, and I felt like I knew that there was a book there for me, that I needed to get a book. And I went in there, and I'm like, what kind of yoga books do you have in here? I didn't really know exactly what I was looking for, but I thought, maybe I want to read about yoga or something. And I had been practicing yoga for several years at that point, and I just, thought, let's get a book about yoga. Well, it's super important in your life to follow those impulses that you feel, because that day it led me to a text, which I'm going to show you guys. So it's this book right here, and you can see the title here. I believe it's pronounced Sat Darshana Bhashya and talks with Maharshi. So, it took me a while to figure out what book I wanted that day, but I got the right book because as I was reading this, it's one of those books I couldn't put it down. I think I read it in 2 sittings. You know, the second sitting was like 4 hours. I just couldn't get enough of it. I read it before bed one night, and then the next morning, um, I I felt like I knew I needed to sit for meditation, like almost immediately. I knew I needed to go to meditation. I just felt it so much. Um, and you know, I am a mom with 2 kids, so sometimes it can be difficult with kids running around and everything for you mothers out there. Like, I totally get it. You know, it can be difficult. I felt like, I can't remember exactly, but I remember feeling that day that there were so many things it seemed like were getting in the way of me getting to meditation. Like, something was coming up with the kids here, and something was coming up there, and and I had to take care of all these things. But the point is, I got there, right? I still went and did it after I took care of those things. And, you know, I laid back. For some reason, I just felt like laying down on my yoga mat that day. And I put on this track that I had been repeatedly listening to lately. It was actually a video of Tibetan singing bowls. And I didn't realize that at the time, because I didn't read the description box until after I experienced what I'm about to tell you. But in the description box, I read that it was, later on, I read that it was all about opening your third eye, right here, and which is something that I have done before, but I didn't realize that I was actually working on it by listening to all of these vibrations from the singing bowls for weeks. You know, a few weeks prior, I had gotten it into my head, oh, I just feel like listening to some Tibetan singing bowls because I love the sound of them. They're very soothing and calming. I just love them. So anyways, it was actually kind of preparing me, I think, for the moment. But, you know, listening to those singing bowls and having my regular practice of yoga and meditation, and in combination with that fear of death, that desire to feel relief on that, to feel resolution, and reading the book that was brought to me too, where I just read it and I knew it, I understood it. You know, it was like one of those things. All led to this moment. So I found myself in meditation, and when you pick up this book, which if you're watching this video right now, you've probably reached a point in your life where you're ready to read this text. I would advise looking into it because I believe you're probably attracted to it for a particular reason. But in here, it's basically a yogi master from the East who writes about his experience to enlightenment. Now, if any of you have read Autobiography of a Yogi, it's very story-based, right? Like, it's an autobiography. He's telling you his life story and events that lined up and everything like that. And you get tidbits of practical things you can apply throughout. But this is like practical method, right? Like, he takes out all of the story, basically. Like, there's nothing about his life, per se. It's very much like methodology that he used to become liberated from the fear of death himself. And he transcribed it to us in this book for other people, which is an amazing, amazing gift. I feel really, really, really grateful that this book exists. This book changed my life. This book quelled the fear of death because it led me to this next experience, which I'm going to tell you about now. So I'm laying on my yoga mat on my back porch, and I have my Tibetan singing bowls on, and I'm just letting go, and I am implementing the method that is explained in this book. And I'll go ahead and tell you really quick what it is. It's very simple. You simply ask, and I really advise picking up the text and reading it, but I simply asked over and over again. First, I quieted my mind. I was in a space of no thought. So when you get to that point and your thoughts cease, and you can cease your thought for a long period of time, which you can do as you practice meditation over time, which I had been doing, I came to this space of where it was thoughtless. And a lot of times when you've been practicing meditation for a while, you know that a lot of times those moments are the moments where you receive like divine inspiration or ideas. For me, because I'm a clairvoyant, I'll receive images and I'll see them. Usually something about energy or I hate to say in a way spirit realm, because there's so many connotations to that, and I'm not really talking about seeing a bunch of spirits. I'm just talking about seeing into that reality which is not tangible, and that happens for me when I go into a thoughtless space from practicing meditation. So I was in that space, right, and I implemented the method, which is asking, who am I? And you ask over and over and over again in your mind, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? So you clear all thoughts, you get into the thoughtless space, and then your only thought that you're putting momentum into consciously is, who am I? And I've also read this method done a little bit differently by some other yogis, where they chant the mantra, I am spirit. It's very similar. Maharshi talks about posing it as a question. That's just what I read at the time, and I implemented because it felt right to me. But I highly, highly, highly recommend reading the book. Because you understand the absoluteness of when you ask God answers, or source answers, or the universe answers, or spirit answers, whatever you want to say, the divine presence, the higher self, whatever you resonate with, right? Answers. So I just want to go ahead and say right now, it's complete and total BS that you have to make peace throughout your life with, oh, well, we just don't know the answers. And we just have to make peace with not knowing what happens, when we die and all of this stuff. And that's simply not true. And I can tell you that today with confidence because I have experienced in my own life the exact opposite of that, of actually experiencing and knowing on a deep level. And it goes beyond thought, it goes beyond logic, it goes beyond reason. It just becomes an incredible direct experience. And the amazing thing about that is that nobody can take that away from you, and nobody can argue that, It's not philosophy of doctrines and religions about what is right or what is wrong or whatever. It's a direct experience that happens. And I'm sharing with you the method that worked for me to get there. But I do believe there are countless methods to connect to your spirit, the source within yourself. There are countless methods, and I just think that, well, if you happen to be reading my story today or watching my story today, and you resonate with this message that I'm saying so far, and you're feeling pulled to the book or to the method or whatever, then that's a sign that maybe this method resonates with you as well. right? And so that's why I'm sharing this today, to really help other people come out of that fear of death. So let me get back to the experience. So one of the key things when you ask, who am I, who am I, who am I, is the understanding that there is a sense of I that is beyond all thought that comes first, right? Whenever we speak in language, I went and did this, I think that, I felt that, you know, I remember this or that. There's an I there. And every single human being on the planet claims it and says it as their own. I. We're all speaking about I. And when you've been meditating for a while, and also you can just like come into awareness with, I will say, without meditation practice. Meditation practice is super helpful for a lot of people, but if anybody's familiar with the work of Eckhart Tolle, he just came into a spiritual awareness one day that totally transformed his life, and I don't even believe he had a meditation practice before that. I think it just happened. It's recognizing that there is that sense of an I that exists beyond all things tangible, that comes first before anything else, you know. Before eating the apple, you know, I was eating the apple. There is that claim to a sense of being already for anything in the world. And so when you say, who am I? You know, it's less about who am I as in my identity. You know, I wasn't asking that day, you know, who am I? You know, show me, like, as in purpose. Am I an artist? Or, you know, I wasn't asking that. I was asking, who am I? Like, who is that I observing beyond my body, my mind, and my emotions, right? Who is that? Who is that I sense? Who am I? Because I recognized that I was claiming that I all the time, and that I is a sense of just being, and I am being. So I wanted to know that, you know, I wanted to know, what is this? So I asked, you know, and I have to tell you, I just asked a few times. I didn't sit there very long before the answers began to flood in me like nothing else, from a deep, deep level inside of me. So I began to sense that presence, right, that permeates all, that observes my life through me, that sees the world through my eyes, that presence inside of me. And it was almost like it came to me cognitively. I sensed it outside of my body. And my mind just started saying, hey, I know that I am. Almost like, hey, I know that person. Like a familiarity. So I said, hey, I know that I am. And then there was, I know that I am. 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 Right? So then there was this feeling, right, of that presence was cognitively outside my body to, there was this merging up, this syncing up with source, right? My little idea of myself, my Rachel Wild, you know, body and my mind and my emotions, the things that formulate to make this idea of myself here, you know, synced up with the knowing that the source of the universe is me, is inside me. I am that source of the universe. And so immediately when that merge happened, I felt so much infinite love and support, and I knew that I was held infinitely. Before this merging up, I was sensing infinity, you know, like I would imagine that I was a person on planet Earth, and planet Earth is suspended in space, and it's like, how is the Earth staying there? How is it suspended? Who is holding it? It could just like fall into space at any time, right? Because I didn't know that feeling of being infinitely held in that which I am. So let me know how this is resonating with you guys. I would love to know if anyone has had similar experiences, or if this is making sense. And please, if you have any questions about what exactly I'm talking about, ask me. I definitely want to have that conversation. But you know, I think a lot of religions, they try to create this experience, this whole like being born again, being saved. You know, I think it is about this at the core. It's just that, you know, a couple of different times in my life I prayed that Christianity salvation prayer, and I didn't have the same experience. And so I feel like I was liberated, saved, right? Being liberated, you know, from a different way. And that's just true for me. Now, saying the Christian prayer and inviting Jesus into your heart, that may give you that rich feeling experience, that knowing that you are, you know, one with God. But it doesn't happen like that for everybody, and I can just tell you that because it happened differently for me. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's wonderful. I think that speaks in the infinite ways that God works. Anyways, what else do I want to tell you about this experience? Oh, yes. So I'm going to finish up the last bit of what happened that day on the yoga mat. First, I need to tell you about the dream I had when I was 18 years old. It happened about 2 weeks after I turned 18. And it was the most powerful feeling dream that I've had to this day, where I felt it just so intensely. You know, so the dream starts where I'm driving in the driver's seat in a car, and my daughter, who had not yet actually been born, was in the car seat in the back of the car. And we're driving out in the Midwest. There's some rocky mountains and cliffs. It's kind of like that red clay stuff, you know. And we get to this stopping point because there are crowds and crowds and crowds of thousands of people stretched out in front of us. And, you know, we get out of the car, we're like, what's going on, you know? And as I get out and I stand in this crowd of people, I look out to the distance and I see the stars in the sky. And then I see what looks like all the stars start looking like shooting stars. And then I realize that the stars are like falling down or whatever in a way. And I sensed this big presence force coming closer and coming closer. And as those stars came down, people flew up into the sky. And I knew my time was coming, because it was coming towards me. And all of a sudden, I felt myself ascend, like, just like off the ground, like if you can imagine like being shot up by a roller coaster. Like I felt that momentum in my dream, and it was my body. And it was kind of startling, like what is happening? And it was just happening, and I shot up past the sky into outer space, through all of the layers of our atmosphere, of course. And after being in outer space, I kept going. And after outer space, I was suspended. My consciousness was, because my body wasn't really there at that time, in like an infinite field of white light. There was, I like to say, the place of nothing, the place of no thing, because there was no earthly thing there. It was literally an infinite space where there was nothing but white light in every single direction, all around me. And my consciousness was just like floating there. And, I remember my consciousness having a thought that said to itself, I don't want to be here yet. And with that, my eyes opened, and I was sitting up in my bed. And that was my first glimpse into after death, or death, right? What it's like to leave your body. What it's like to be on the other side. What it's like to join God. What it's like to become one with God. So fast forward, I don't know however many years later, like 9 years later, right, or 8 years or something, and I'm having this meditation experience on my back porch on my yoga mat, and I felt that I'm feeling this immense love, that I'm infinitely held. I start crying and things like that because it feels so incredibly beautiful. It is so, so wonderful, this feeling. I can't even explain it to you. But it is a glorious feeling, and it feels so safe. It feels so safe. So after that, what happened was, through this whole thing, I'm not going to go into the detail of all of it, but because I am a clairvoyant, and I was seeing different visions of energy and everything. It would take a while to explain some of that, but I'm going to get to the main point, is that, during that period of feeling incredibly safe and held and supported by the universe, and feeling an incredible amount of love and like syncing up with source energy in my body, just connecting it, I saw, and how can I explain this? I traveled that tunnel, okay, that retracts, that my awareness came from its body. It wasn't necessarily an out-of-body experience. It was all happening on the inside. It's not like I left my body on the outside and was hovering. That's not what it was. It was happening on the inside, where my awareness was retracting back from all of this. And there was like this light path opening, okay? And I traveled this light path. It's a little hard for me to explain, and I'm trying my best with words here. And that did happen pretty fast, but all of a sudden, I was doing that, and my eyes, these eyes, opened, and I saw with my opened eyes while I was awake the space again of being in infinite pure white light. And I was seeing it this time while I was feeling it. And it was this feeling of returning home to my truest self, to myself as an infinite spirit, to myself as the source of the universe. And I realized that the source of the universe creates us all, comes into us all. And there's this connection, I'm telling you, this pathway, like I was saying, this pathway that I believe it gets blocked off, like we forget that it's there, we don't know it's there, whatever. And that's why I'm saying when you clear your mind of the thoughts, and you're vibrationally ready and willing to receive yourself, right? Because that part of us, that spirit, that source, is our like truest self that there is. When you're ready, I believe that like cloud, that fog, right? The veil lifted, like biblical terms says stuff like that. Coming out of illusion and coming into truth, we can still access that pathway of connection, right? And so that's all I have to say about it, I think, at this point. I'm going to show you a few images that I drew after the experience now. I'm going to finish up this video here. It's getting a little lengthy. So immediately, really, after I sat there for a while, then I did come out of it a time later. I did feel like there was more to go, but I came out of it. And I immediately felt compelled to write what I had seen to the best of my abilities, at least be able to draw it. And my hand was just guided to draw these images, so I'm going to show them to you now. Okay, so this was the first one. Okay, so you can see this is imagine this is the human, this is you, this is the person. Here's your eye. This is your third eye, also known as the pineal gland, which allows you to see the intangible. So we have our eyes here that allow us to see the tangible world, and the pineal gland, our third eye, allows us to see the intangible world. And I believe this is the part that kind of gets blocked up, right? And some people I know out there saying, oh, that's wooshy woohoo or whatever, like about the third eye and everything. And I just like to say, the only people that say that the third eye isn't real, or that they don't believe in it, or it's wooshy woosh nonsense, are the people who haven't opened it. So when you have the experience of opening it and you actually go there, then you know it to be true for yourself. So I just want to show you, this is the outside world, okay? Can you see this eye looking here out into the outside world? Okay, I want to show you. Now think of that infinite white pure light that I was talking about. Imagine it's here on the outside, right? Okay, and then on the inside, look, this is kind of how it was in a way. It was like spiraling so far in. Okay, this is kind of the pathway I was talking about. If you can see this line, to the infinite source of the universe. This is the beginning of that pure white light, it's this, okay, right here. And I purposefully didn't, draw any trees or anything in this image because I realized the truth of the matter is we are all suspended right now in infinite pure white light. And when you open your other faculties for seeing, then you can see that and you can know that. Even now everything is 360 degrees white light. And it appears otherwise through our eyes as we enjoy this playground on planet Earth that we can play in and create in and everything. Okay, so this was kind of just the traveling into that infinite realm, really, where we exist. But you have to see, we're connected this whole time. We are the source of the universe. Okay, the source of the universe is inside of us and creates us. And I believe that we all are. I would imagine almost one of these pictures of the human being, like many of them, all connecting back to this source. This is how you can understand that we are all one, right? Because we all are. Do you see that? Okay. So here's another one I drew next, and if you can see, it's as if you're looking, this is the outside world, you can see some trees and the seasons, and then this is just when you go inside and you begin to kind of like spiral all the way back in. It's just kind of a testament to how big our inside really is, right? It's not just the inside of our body. Okay, and then here's the next one. And this kind of just looks like torsos, right, at first. This like a sea of torsos, how we're kind of all connected here. And you can see it like that, but I'm going to show you a little bit something else here in a minute too. This one came out next. So imagine the infinite pure white light space, right? All of this here. It creates forms, infinite amount of forms in this world. But you see, it still is that white space the whole time. Okay, we are a spirit and we are a body. And it can go on and on and on. Do you see this? Okay. And this one came out. So, look, at first it looks like that torso, right? Okay. But I want to show you how I was seeing it actually. So here's another image of that pathway, and it's not so spirally this time. See, here's the face. I want you to imagine this man. His body's down here in the 3D reality. So now I want to ask, what is this? Right? This is the brain, right? What is it connected to? This is really how I had seen it. Not like this at all. Really, I'm trying to do the best I can with a pencil and a paper. I saw it and it was more of an energetic way, but there was definitely this retracting back from the body, from the thoughts, from the mind, from the emotions, and like, it's almost like this is that light pathway. And this, right, is, oops, that's a different one. This Okay? See? And now you can see this a little differently. Imagine that face and the brain on each one. And now, see this one again. Okay? So, I want to show you one more that I just doodled today. I actually had a doodle that I lost, that I did last year as well. But I want to show you that we all come from the same source. It's just a little doodle. But it is something like this. Okay. So just, if you can imagine this infinite white light source is here, right? And we are, every single one of us, connected to it. Okay, it comes into this world, creates forms, right? This is us. This is how we are all connected. You know, we can think of it like, oh, we're all here on the planet Earth, and we're all in this together, we're all connected. We're all a part of the planet, so we are all one when we think about being on the planet together. And that's the way you can look at it and understand it and see it from the outside. But from the inside, we can realize that we are all connected from this infinite white light space that is God, that is source of the universe. And how there is a pathway to every single one of us, right? And that is why the very important message on overcoming the fear of death is when a body ceases to be alive, the spirit still travels back to itself, you see? Away from the form of the body, yet the spirit essence returns to that infinite white light, space, and presence. That's why when somebody dies, they're closer to you than they ever have been. Because their spirit has gone back inside. See, you could sense them from the outside, but you can never really be in them, right? When their spirit returns to the source, well, you have access to the source. And the source has access to you. Do you see? They are now closer to you on the inside than they ever were when they appeared to be on the outside. Here's one more. So imagine this source. This is the source of the universe. Now really it's an infinite white light that extends forever everywhere. And it comes into this world and you're created, right? You see this? Each one of us has a pathway. Now you can imagine this form like going inside this pool, right? And not showing up as a shape. Yet, it is part of the same pool here that has always been here, that was existing this whole time. You see? Okay, so if this one's gone now, and this one's gone now, and this one's gone now. Okay, and there's some left over here and here. The source is still here the whole time, you see? So when a body dies, its spirit retracts back unto the source of itself, which is, you know, an infinite space of white in every single direction. Just imagine this. Imagine yourself right now. You can close your eyes and, I mean, you can imagine right now being in white light 360 degrees around you everywhere. Okay, so a lot of people, I will say, have had similar experiences to the one that I've mentioned before. I've heard of other people also seeing this and accessing this, and a lot of times you'll hear in, you know, the spiritual communities or whatever, people waking up or whatever, waking up to who you really are, waking up to yourself being an infinite spiritual being. Now you can, hopefully from those visuals, I really do hope they helped you see that. I'm sure I will have more to come, but that is the gist of what I wanted to share with you today. Please let me know if this resonated with you, if this helped you in any way. And I would say if you're there feeling the fear of death super intensely right now, you are at the point of finding out. So just hang in, trust the answer is coming, go where you're led, be guided where you're guided, trust the answer comes to you. I would say spend more time in meditation, spend more time going into a thoughtless space, and set the intention to connect with the truth of who you are and to meet yourself fully. And that is what will happen for you. Okay, I am Rachel Wild. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. If you found any value from my video, please like, subscribe, and share. If you think this message would help other people, please share this message. Alright, everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Toodaloo.